We begin tonight from the Cellar studio with an I told you so. I told you the Panthers stink. Podcast at the end of last week, not the Saturday one, but this whole thing about oh, I don't know about Rico Dowdle. No, I watched them 2 weeks ago. I don't care what they did against the Falcons last week. I watched them 2 weeks ago against New Orleans and said they stink. Their passing game's not good. It's it. They're not good enough, and they weren't good enough. And this is the blessing. That's why I say, for all of the Niners are so unlucky. The Niners are so unlucky, and they've had some horribly unlucky breaks, I guess. But they're also lucky. They've had a lot of luck this year. One being, I don't know if it's luck. I guess you could argue it goes in a different category since they earned this schedule or parts of this schedule by being bad. And I know every time I say that, people are like, well, this particular game is not part of that. Don't you realize that only a few of these? Yeah. Look, you get more misses. Everybody, every weekend, there's two teams. There's a game this weekend. There's multiple games where you're watching like, wait, what is happening right now? Why is Miami beating Buffalo or whatever, right? You look at some of these games and you just scratch your head. Every week it happens to almost everybody. And the Texans are beating the Bills, right? That was one this weekend. But the point is, the Bengals and the Jets are knotted up. The point is, every team gets a couple of those. When you have a schedule like the 49ers, you get a bunch of them. And today they got another one. Now, you can't throw 3 interceptions in the first half and win in Cleveland this week. Like, you are not beating Shedeur Sanders. I mean, really, you're not beating Lake Effect Cleveland with 3 first half turnovers and then a fumble that you get back. You're not beating Indianapolis on Monday Night Football in Indy. You may not win any of your last 3 games throwing 3 interceptions. Chicago, much better than Carolina. I don't quite buy the ESPN promo they ran. There was like 2 heavyweights, Bears, Eagles. Like, I don't know about heavyweights, but the quarterback is way better. The team is just better. So you're not beating Seattle at the end of the year throwing 3 first half interceptions. It almost felt like, and I'll say this to make a point. I don't think this is what happened, but it almost felt like the Niners open up the pass game because we're playing Carolina. Now that's not what happened. My feeling was that the game plan was we're going to hammer them with McCaffrey and hammer them with Christian and hammer them with Christian, and then it's going to open up the pass game. And I guess in a way you could argue, well, Pearsall was open in the end zone at halftime, and then really after the game, Shanahan said he thought all 3 decisions by Purdy were good, which of course means the throws were bad. And you and I didn't need Kyle Shanahan to tell us the throws were bad. The one that was really, I thought I would argue on the Pearsall decision. Oh, it was a good decision. I would argue that because it was 3rd and 6. You're at the 22-yard line. You're up 7-0. You just got kind of lucky because Bryce Young threw an interception on the 1-yard line on 1st and goal. Awful. And he could have. I thought he could have run for the first down. Purdy at least could have run and set up like a 4th and 1, which to me you go for in that spot, even a 4th and 2. But I thought he could have picked up the first down. It would have brought you down to the 22-yard line. That's where the line to gain was. And he's off balance and he lofts it. And it's, that is in theory, like that throw is one that's in his toolbox, right? Like the back foot over the middle throw where you really need your arm strength is not his throw. I thought the first interception was, situationally, the first interception and the second interception were god awful, I thought. So, Shanahan shrugged him off in part because from his perspective, whatever, I'm not about to replace him with Mac Jones. He's the franchise quarterback. So whatever, like that's Kyle's attitude. And I do think to Brock's credit, I didn't think any of the throws affected anything that came next, which, plenty of guys throw 3 picks. Some guys go in the tank and we never see him again. Some guy, I think kind of Garoppolo, is what would happen with him. Not that he's the standard here, but so I guess there's that. But I thought situationally they were bad. I thought the arm strength. We talk about it. There are just throws that there are things that Brock Purdy does that have to overcome for the fact that he doesn't have a big arm. And it really shows up to me in a couple spots. I think it shows up sometimes in the red zone where the windows are tighter and the field is more crowded and velocity matters. And it shows up when you're a little late over the middle. That first pick, again, like, dude was open enough, but they were teeing off on him in the first half because they're 90-mile-an-hour fastballs. The Pearsall one is just a miss. To me, that was a bad decision. So I will disagree there. And I think there's no question. Like, there's not some big referendum. Every Brock Purdy, and Brock hasn't been great on Monday nights. Every Brock Purdy, especially the national TV games, and because he's been hurt this year, I think it's easy to forget that he is still a very hot button debate QB. Rightfully so. You are not going to get end the debate from me. I've always thought that stuff is ridiculous. People are like, oh, it's not even a conversation anymore. Yeah, it's always a conversation if you're playing quarterback in the NFL. It stops being a conversation when you become a Hall of Famer. And even then, like at the end of Peyton Manning's career, he's a Super Bowl champion, multiple-time MVP, clear Hall of Famer, has a neck injury, and we're still debating the guy. Not debating whether or not he's great, but is he choke or what's the deal? So, they miss me with, oh, why are we still having this conversation? It's totally fair. Every quarterback is subjected to it. Every single one, especially ones that get paid a lot of money. So it's totally fair. Also, it does feel like Brock's games every game is like a referendum. He throws 3 touchdowns. It's like, see the artistry. He throws 3 picks. It's like, doesn't have the arm, can't hack it. So, he is worthy of criticism, no question. Luckily, you've got me, Goldilocks, who always falls at just the right temperature when it comes to Brock Purdy. And the thing to say about it today is just he has to button it down a little bit. I think one of the challenges for a quarterback is to figure out the balance between who they are and who they want to be. And most guys of a certain age wanted to be Brett Favre. And then they want to be Aaron Rodgers. And the good news is, if you're a borderline NFL quarterback, in high school, you probably got to be Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. And then in college, you might have been able to be those guys. And the complicated thing with Brock is that one of the benefits of Brock is the mobility and the creativity. It's one of the things the Niners offense has that it didn't have before with Jimmy Garoppolo. But again, Jimmy's not the gold standard here. He's just the guy that came before. One thing I always love to do is look at big time throws on PFF. It's not the be all end all, but I do think it's interesting because to me, it tells you there's this perception that a quarterback has to make 7 crazy throws a game. And the reality is it's not that many. You got to make a bunch of good decisions followed by good decisions. So you have to string really good decisions together. We haven't talked about PFF in a while, but the 0 throws, right? These are the price of admission throws. They're good throws. They're what most guys make. They're NFL QB throws. And then there's the 0.5 throws. If you're new here, I once graded an entire 49ers camp. It was Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, using that PFF scale. I think it's 0 to plus 2.5 to minus 2.5. And what you find is the exceptional throws are rare. That it's really about making the good throws over and over and over and over again. And then when an opportunity or two comes for a big time throw, you make that throw. And the perception is that I think the perception is I would have thought this, you make 6, 7 of those a game. And the reality is that's not the case. So let's just for fun look right now. Where do things stand? PFF, grain of salt on these grades, but I do think the number's probably accurate. Stafford generally, is at the top of the league in this category, year in and year out. Stafford is near the top of the league in big time throws. Right now he's second. Sam Darnold is first. Okay. Less interested in who it is and more interested in what the number is. The number is 25. Darnold leads the league with 25 big time throws. So I don't. I'm trying to remember. Josh Dubois, the AP would remember. I haven't looked at it. Big time throws, excellent ball. I think these are like 1.5 or 2.0 graded throws. I don't remember exactly. But the point is, he's played 11 games. So that's like 2 and change throws per game. Big time throws that you got to make. 2 and change. Like, so with Brock, there's this feeling, I think, in his mind, like he wants to go make all these plays. People are going to hate this. Don't misconstrue this. Do not misconstrue this. But I'm setting myself up to get I'm setting myself up to get smacked in the comments. But he's got to play like this Garoppolo level baseline. People go, oh, that's not a franchise QB. Hold on. But with his extra spice, which is the difference between being the kind of guy you're trying to replace every 2 years and the kind of guy that gets to be your quarterback for 7 or 8 or 9 or, is your franchise quarterback. And he's not the top of the line franchise quarterback, obviously. But for him to be at his best, he's got to string good throws. They win that game even bigger than they did if he just, the more I think about it, the less I agree with good decisions. Like the two things go to the decision and the throw have to fit. There are plenty of backup quarterbacks who make good decisions, can't make the throw. So the more I think about it, the more I don't like that. Like good decisions. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that can make good decisions, can't make the throw. There's some guys that can make the throw, but make awful decisions. The top 12, 15 quarterbacks are the guys that do both in big spots. And certainly you're not going to put the ball at risk third down when you can run for it in the red zone against the Panthers. Like, why give them life? You don't need to go to the kill shot here in the first quarter, second quarter. So I didn't like that. But again, they won the game. To me, there's not some like grand conclusion that comes out of it. And so that's why I feel like I don't want to hammer that point on forever because kind of like whatever. You had to win the game. You had to me, like not let it be a 13-10 game. That would have been hideous. This felt like Thursday Night Football. Not let it be a 3-point game. I wanted to not see the Panthers offense. I wanted to see your defense win that game, right? Like win the battle with the Panthers offense. They did decisively. You wanted to see Matt Gay make some kicks. He did when he had to. I said it last week. Carolina wins games by 3 and otherwise gets blown out. It's why I wasn't afraid of them from a Niners perspective. I'm all for respecting the opponent and like all these games are hard and blah, blah, blah. But, that starts this week with Cleveland, who, it's been a big Shedeur Sanders week. What was he, 10 of 22 or something, throwing the ball, 11 of 20, 11 of 20, 209. He can run around a little bit, make a couple of throws. Weather, what's the weather going to be in Cleveland? Lake effect snow. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy and yeah, boy. Snowy 34, 38 degrees, maybe snowy on Sunday. Like I relish these opportunities to watch Brock Purdy play and kind of you don't want him to go out there playing like he's got to prove something, but kind of prove something. So fine win. You even saw, if you saw the interview that Christian McCaffrey did post-game on the field with Lisa Salters. He was like, good win. Even you could tell he wanted to say like good win, but like not really, but all the wins are hard. And so good. I mean, to me, of the remaining games, that's in the easiest category with Tennessee when you're coming off a bye and Tennessee's coming off a game at Cleveland. So, now you're back in the playoff picture in the NFC. 8-4 puts you one game ahead of Detroit in the win column. To me, the thing that's been the most relevant thing that's happened for the 49ers in the last few weeks is that Chicago keeps winning games that they easily could lose but win, which is a credit to them. Chicago pulled around against the Steelers by 3. They pulled around against the Vikings by 2. They pulled one out against the Giants by 4. They pull one out against the Bengals by 5. 47-42. Who you beat matters here down the stretch for the 49ers. And I said a few weeks ago, like, do you win I think when they had 8 to play, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe it was coming off the Rams loss. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it was. I don't remember, but it was going into the Rams game. That's what it was. It was going into the Rams game. They had 8 to play. I said win 4. But which 4 matters, especially like if you said down the stretch, you definitely beat Chicago and Seattle at the end of the year, you're in the playoffs. Now you beat Carolina, you beat Cleveland, and then you come off the bye and you beat Tennessee. Now you're in what, 9? 1, 2, no, it's 8. I thought that was this thing didn't update. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So beat Cleveland, beat Tennessee, you're at 10. You're in great shape. But the fact that Chicago keeps winning and Seattle keep winning for that matter, you gotta keep going too. Now, Chicago plays Philly, and they go to Green Bay. They go to Philly, to Green Bay. Their schedule's tough. They play the Browns at home. They play Green Bay again. They go to the Niners, and then they play the Lions at the end of the year, which, that game might really matter. That could be a huge game, Detroit and Chicago. So the schedule's tough, but give them credit. They're in a different category, as I expected them to be, a different category than Carolina. I thought Jauan Jennings, in a week where we talked about Ayuk, and I said last week, could we see Ayuk gone and Jennings back? And I repeated it again this weekend. I'll repeat it again now. I don't know that I'm not predicting that Jennings is back, but I do give him credit for it got weird. You're like, how is this going to take a weird turn? And instead, he got healthy and started really playing like their best receiver again. Ricky Pearsall didn't do much of anything today. And Jauan Jennings, again, was their best receiver. Like most games this year, when he plays, he's their best receiver since Ricky Pearsall went out. Now, I think Ricky can come back and be productive again, but I expect him to make plays, and they tried to make, if Brock makes a good throw, we're talking about what a dynamic Ricky Pearsall adds. But I am really interested. What's the price going to be? Because I think for Jennings, and I haven't done maybe somebody else has like a now. What is the free agent receiver market going to look like, and how much is Jennings really going to project to get? But to me, there's a world where there's a number that's like not crazy, and I know what he wanted, but he didn't get it. And part of the reason he didn't get the number that he wanted was that nobody else was going to trade for him and pay him that either. So I'm not sure if that number is out there for Jauan Jennings. And I just think like I would be comfortable with him back at the right number because I think he really adds something to your team. Physicality, a toughness. And I think he displayed it this year simply by getting through whatever that weirdness was and playing his ass off again. Blocking, catching the ball, picking up first downs, fighting for extra yards. That's a fit. So there was a minute there this year where it looked like he wouldn't be back under any circumstances. And to me, it's like he might not be back, but it's a financial decision. I wouldn't give up on that. Yeah, that's all. That's the point now. What's Purdy have? 6 interceptions on the year, same as Mac Jones. Can't have that. McCaffrey 3.7 yards a carry, which matches year one. These numbers haven't updated after this game, but matches year one for the lowest of his career. And it's one of the great 3.7 yard per carry seasons that I've seen. I think he just matters so much to them. He is the definition of a workhorse, except more. Like what's a workhorse and dynamic, but where the numbers aren't explosive. For a guy who's 3.7 yards per carry, to me, what's impressive is, and I know this isn't the case because the math doesn't work, but a lot of times, like a guy that's 3.7 to me would have more yards, more carries that don't go anywhere than this guy does. But he still just gets you, it's 3.7, but it might be 4 on first down, now it's 2nd and 6. It doesn't feel like a lot, but it's like he keeps them on time. So I've not quite seen a season quite like this one we're watching from Christian McCaffrey, and it's special. It's really special. In regards to radio, Justin Allegri called the game today. Did a great job. I will not be back on 49ers radio filling in for Greg Papa. I was watching Papa talk to Mayoko on YouTube Sunday, and he was wearing the old 262 hat, which was, I appreciate Greg rocking the 262 hat. Greg's collection of hats is pretty unbelievable. Pretty unbelievable. I love Josh Dubois. Speaking of Greg, Josh Dubois' post the other day that going back however many coaches, Jack Del Rio is the only one with a winning record for the Raiders. Unbelievable. Anyway, so the 49ers schedule now, I'll be back. The plan is to I'm not doing Cleveland, which is this week. Then they're on a bye. And then I'm scheduled for the following game, Tennessee, Colts, Bears, Seahawks. I'll be calling those games on radio. So I'm excited. I haven't called a Niner game on radio since the Falcons game, October 19th. Been a while. Baby is 2 weeks old today, Monday. If you're watching this Tuesday, it was 2 weeks ago Tuesday. And he has witnessed dramatic wins over the Cardinals and the Panthers. And now he gets the Browns. So to him, the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens, these are teams that play in some other league, because the Niners league is the Cardinals and the Panthers and the Browns and the Titans, apparently. One thing I'm waiting on, I said about Seattle. This will be a little further down, but now we're getting in quick on Indy, which I'm looking forward to making that trip for Monday Night Football with the team. That they were hot early. And I was like, let's just see how things go. They've lost 2 of 3, and one of those losses was to Pittsburgh. Beat Atlanta by 6. Lost to Kansas City. There's no shame in losing at Kansas City by 3. You're playing you're playing Mahomes. They play the Texans, the Jags, the Seahawks. And the Texans are playing good football. Texans have won 4 or 5. Now, including wins over the Niners and most recently the Bills. What's the Colts deal by the time the Niners roll into Indianapolis? That's at the top of my, just kind of at the top of the watch list right now. Anything else I want to mention from the game? I mean, 2 weeks in a row, I think something we haven't talked about in a while. Special teams been good. Knock on wood. Special teams been good. Like a plus. Sky Moore's been a plus. He, in a way, won him the game last week, just with the return to start. You get to play from ahead. Had another good return today. So coverage team has been good. Kicking game has been good. So shout out to Brant Boyer. And I think the other question I would have is, it was part of the Monday Night Football crew's discussion during the game and then after the game with Scott Van Pelt. Is Robert Saleh going to be one and done? I think everybody knows that watches his team statistically what they are. And yet, he's done a good job. When you lose Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, no one really holds it against you when you're 30th in this category and 31st in this category, whatever. And I think that makes him look like, I think he looks, in a way, if he had Warner and Bosa and had the number 2 defense in the league, that'd be really impressive. But I'm not hiring a defensive coordinator to be my head coach. I'm hiring a head coach to be my head coach. When you have all the adversity they've dealt with and still have a team playing hard, and like on Monday night, you're like, oh, these guys are flying around. To me, that is almost a better argument for him to be a head coach again, because he doesn't, he's not calling the defense, than the fact that, then if he had the star players and the defense was rocking and rolling and one of the best in the league. In a weird way, I think the struggles have made for a better argument for him. I guess the question is, what job is open? Where are you going? Is Atlanta going to be open? Would they go back to a non-offensive coach again? Raheem? I don't know. I don't know which job is going to be open that he would like. To me, there's no like, I'm not taking that job if you're Robert Saleh, right? The Raiders won't be interested. Like, the Raiders job open. Do you take that job? I'm not saying Pete's getting fired, but Cincinnati opens. Do you take that job? Hell yes. You take that job. Miami opens. Do you take that job? Hell yes. You take that job. Miami's kind of interesting to me because they just did the OC, play caller guy is the head coach. But can you go back to the same tree with a guy that just failed in your division? I mean, maybe that's a little weird, but as always, it's hard to find. There's just not a lot of these jobs. And Jacksonville's playing good. I mean, not that Liam Cohen was going to get fired, but Pittsburgh, if you fire Mike Tomlin, you got to do it because you're hiring, the Ben Johnson guy, or you're doing something crazy, right? Like I'm going to say something crazy. Jed Fish, like that's you got to if you're firing Mike Tomlin, like you have got to really shake it up. Tennessee, it's weird. So it to me, it feels like he's trending towards getting a job, but you still have to find the job that fits, and that's a little bit harder. Anyway, I think that's that for this. I think we'll see Tuesday morning. I think the win's important. I think the Purdy play, the 3 interceptions, will get a lot of run in the next couple of days, which is fine. Like it's deserved. That's deserved. But I'm not doing some big referendum on it after. I don't think his arm isn't good enough to make that throw if he's going to be late on it. Yeah, we knew that already. That's not new information. Well, Stafford can make that throw. Yeah, he's a different player. So anyway, all right. On that note, Thanksgiving week. I'll say having the baby, it's kind of thrown because I've just been home, waking up at whatever time, just all hours of the day, all over the map. I have started, some of you will be happy to know, I've started GFF scoring poops. Zeros, 1.0s, 1.5s. There was one -1 poop, I got to say. And not proud of this, but the kid did pee in his own eyeball in about 5 a.m. on Monday morning. It was a miss. Got a little, no pun intended, got a little cocky. Stopped covering, exposed to air, cover, do the switch. Early morning, didn't cover. Next thing you know, just water cannons from across the bow, just missed me, and bam, little man, eyeball, direct hit. Yikes. So I think we've recovered from that because, he can't see anything anyway at this point. So it's not like his vision was impaired. And I'm not sure about his memory. So I don't want to test it with another trauma tonight. Hopefully there won't be one. Knock on wood again, and all's well, and everybody has a great Thanksgiving. So will I do another show before Thanksgiving? Probably. Yes, of course. Maybe. I don't know. But if I don't, I think I will. But if I don't, have a great week. Be safe. Make good decisions. That's a food comment. My wife will say it to me before I make a road trip. Like, make good decisions. And for a lot of people, that means like, don't get blackout drunk. For me, that means, don't go burger, fries, and then ice cream back-to-back nights. Make good decisions. So, anyway, make good decisions in all aspects and a few bad ones. Okay, y'all. Talk soon. Later.